Welcome to the Holts Seal Bid March 2022. Today we're going to be looking at my top 10-ish guns from the sale, although to be honest I've missed a fair few and I've left a few out because picking 10 out of many thousands is significantly harder than in the main sale. Anybody can bid on the Holts sealed bid sale. I have American friends who buy, I have European friends who buy. Beware that export costs can sometimes outweigh the value of the gun, but obviously because of international gun values, sometimes that will work for you. It is a bit of a nirvana in there. You will spend many hours going through the website or the app, which are linked in the description. A sealed bid auction works slightly differently to their main auction. It's not progressive bidding. You get your bid and you put it in, and that's where you'll be. If somebody has bid more than you, you will not win. Hence, serious bids win. It's also worth mentioning that you should get your bids in early, because if you are on the winning bid with the same as someone else, the person who put that bid there first wins. So we're going to kick off with this. This is lot 5226 in the March 2022 sealed bid auction. It is a SKB Model 805, and yes, I'm opening this up with a Japanese over and under. I do apologise, but all of the good quality Italian over and unders go in the main sale for the most part because they're more popular. However, this little bad boy is not very popular. So this is a Model 805, which means it's a side-plated single trigger 12 bore over and under. I'm obviously quite fond of it. It's a 2009 built gun, so it does feel quite modern, but it's not of the Turkish era, which is good, I am led to believe by those who live in countries where SKB still exists. I am quite fond of it for numerous reasons. Firstly, I think it's £400 to £600. Let me check that in my Holts book. You could, of course, look at the Holts app or the Holts website and find these things out. £500 to £700. £500 to £700. It's a 3-inch gun. It's got a 15 3/4 inch stock. That's most of why I like it. I mean, it's got a hideously big extension on there, but for those of us who are tall, to pick up a gun that someone else has already done the work to is a novelty. It's quite flat shooting, meaning that you don't see a lot of rib. The stock is quite low. However, the fact that it's not too low for me means that it's not unreasonable and will fit the majority of taller people. Majority being over 50% in this case, at least. It's £8.1. In fact, it's everything a good sporting gun should be. It is a little rearward heavy, but that is often the case when you fit an extension like this. You have to be very careful when fitting extensions to guns, generally speaking, not to upset the balance, and it's almost as fine an art as picking the right pad combination not to cock up the weight of a gun or taking some weight out to rebalance a gun, as it is just fitting the pad itself. Doing an aesthetically pleasing job is one thing, but doing a handling approved job is another thing. However, for someone who likes a rearward heavy gun, aka not me, this would be perfect. The first thing I'd do is probably try and lose some weight out the back end, just a little bit. These dense rubber pads are really great for everything apart from adding weight, and you do need to be careful, certainly when picking up used guns, if you wanted a new one, if they're being played with, to keep the balance the same, if the balance even matters to you, which it probably doesn't. Anyway, that is my first one, the SKB 805. It is a multi-choke, comes with no spares, which is an issue. Let's pop them out. No, let's not pop them out because they are in there fairly firm. It is, yeah, steel shot proofed, 3-inch chambered, 18.5 board. I love the way these go together. Like, they are just good. You've got that tiny little loop on the forend, which keeps the fore ends quite low, keeps the action profile extremely slim. I mean, I'd go as far as to say these have to be one of the shallowest actions on the market. Must be one of them. I might go find and get a pair of calibers and find out. You know, there aren't many low-profile guns, and this. All right, let's put this in the top 5 low-profile guns. Let's not make any huge assumptions. But you have these trunnions that are slung onto the side of the bottom barrel, which keeps the profile low. You have this tiny little draw block that clicks into the back base of the unit, and that just adds some more surface area. Just makes it a little bit more solid on the close-up than perhaps some other brands are. You have the locking top bolt, but what you do have, instead of having like hidden sections, is the two parts actually protrude off the top of the action. It does lend itself to perhaps a less beautiful gun, the way you've got these really strong bolsters. If you think that's not beautiful, I happen to think that's quite beautiful. So, luckily for me, I'm happy. The engraving is rolled, not particularly exciting, but it's a pretty scroll pattern. It's a pretty light scroll pattern. I think this is a really classy looking gun. I think this is a good feeling gun. The size of the grip on this thing is like just enormous. That's not unpleasant for a larger hand. A little bit of parcel would go nice, but just the fact that you've got the length, the depth, and the ability to actually get your thumb around it, it's quite pleasant. It's not a bad place to start your life with a shotgun. I think it's good anyway. And to be honest, for the money, you can't go far wrong. The only issue you'll ever have with SKBs is the fact that this trigger unit design sucks. In fact, not any, that's harsh. Putting the selector inside the trigger does make your safety catch a lot cleaner. However, and there is a big however, they are less reliable, they are less tactile, and they're less nice. In fact, I have seen, a friend of mine has an SKB with a selective trigger. We actually took it out and fixed his sear to one side. That made the gun not more reliable, just cleaner looking, I think. The trunnions look odd. They look like they're not supposed to be, and they look a little bit depressed, but I don't have one next to it to see whether that's correct or not. Either way, this gun feels good and tight. Like most SKBs, it hasn't done a lot of work, mostly because not many were in the country. They weren't a gun that you'd just go and buy on a whim. It's not a Beretta or a Browning. This is 2009 we're talking about. If you weren't buying a 525 or a Silver Pigeon, who even were you? The wood is lovely. It needs a little bit of oil, but all in all, a fantastic, fantastic gun. On to number 2. So next up is this. This is a Summerton Guns, made by Parkamy for Summerton Guns, 10 bore. What's quite cool about it is there's a multi-choke 26-inch 10 bore. Summerton Guns were responsible for Denton and Cannell, and over the course of years have brought in a lot of Spanish guns, put their name on them, and well, they've made some pretty good stuff. Their Denton and Cannell sidelocks, I'm going to get crucified for that being wrong potentially, but it doesn't matter. They're quite soft, but they're a really good value gun. This is no different. This is lot 5351. A box lock, Spanish, non-ejector, 10 bore. And the reason that it jumped out the rack is the obscene size of the end of these tubes. And then I clocked that, and then I clocked the fact it was multi-choke. I understand that a multi-choke 10 bore is nothing rare or different. Given that a multi-choke 10 bore comes in the format of a Browning Gold, I know they're a 10 bore, right? This is just cool because it's a multi-choke side-by-side 10 bore with 26-inch barrels. It's just such an unusual thing. Usually you get the 10 bores and they've got 32-inch tubes or 36-inch tubes, and they're designed to these big punters. So it is not steel-proofed. However, if Nick Horton would put steel in a non-steel-proofed gun and use it to develop and test, these barrels weigh 2.5 kilos. They're probably capable of taking steel. That's my assumption anyway. Whether that's correct or not, I don't know. One way to find out though, I'm sure it'll be absolutely fine. The chokes it come with are a 1/2 and a 1/4. It comes with no spares. That could be an issue, and I believe the company that made this gun are no longer going, so finding spares could be very difficult indeed. However, a 1/2 and a 1/4, perfectly good for throwing some steel through if you felt the need. Oh, I think it's quite smart. Pistol grip, long open pistol grip, very plain stock, sling swivels attached, 14.5 inches overall length, so it's not massive, but fine for most people. Gun. 5351. Who doesn't want to own a 10 bore? It's like a rite of passage owning a bigger gun, isn't it? So this is just a quickie. This is 5171. This is a Browning GTI SU made in 1994. The serial number NW would dictate that anyway. 30-inch multi-choke barrels. It is a fantastic, fantastic gun. It's basically a 325 with fancy engraving, but just take a moment to look at this wood. You don't get wood like that on a grade 3 Browning anymore, do you? What a stunning, stunning, and generally fantastic and beautiful gun. Obviously, it's got issues. I believe something is loose, or at least this is what it says in the description. I'm eager to find out what. One of the ribs is loose, probably the top rib. Knowing these, they were not put on fantastically on 325s. That's a lie. I take that back. They were put on fantastically on 325s, but this is a 30-year-old gun, and as such, is going to start to need love. I love the ribs on these things, and this is what I learned to shoot on, as I keep banging on about. They are fantastic. They really are just good guns. You can still get spares for it. Everything about this gun is fantastic, apart from the fact that the rib's falling off. However, I look at this gun in two different ways. You buy it, you have the rib relayed, and you end up spending what you could have bought a decent one for. Or you buy it and you take the wood off it. Either way, I'm starting to wish, like many things at Holts auctioneers, I wish I'd never have showed you. However, it's like a safety blanket, as I've discussed before. If I show you the things that I want, I will no longer be able to buy them or afford them. And hopefully one of you guys will just, let me play. That would be nice. I should also mention that this stock, as beautiful as it is cracked. That may put some of you off. It may put me off. But you don't buy a gun with beautiful, beautiful, really, really exquisite wood, like this one, and then just not accept that it's going to break at some point or another. It's just the way that it is. I know that's sad, but it is priced accordingly. And that's the thing with the Holts sealed bid, is you're never going to get the perfect gun in the sealed bid sale. This is more their general auction. Their main sale is where all of the really Gucci stuff goes, and all the once in a lifetime pieces, and all the mintaculous guns. However, for those of us who perhaps already own a decent gun and are looking for a second, or looking for a spare, or looking to live vicariously through buying some junk, or perhaps relive some of our youth, this is the place to come. This is one of the guns you lusted after. I mean, I certainly did. Like most of the guns I'm showing you today are the things that I desperately, desperately want, and in mint condition couldn't afford. In fact, what I'm going to show you next, I need somebody to buy this. I need someone to put such a strong bid on it that I don't win it because I've already put a bid on it. So here it is, the romantic purchase of the sale for me. It's not 5808. You will have seen the video with Simon Reinhold double gunning with a pair of Boss thumb lever hammer guns. I understand that a Boss thumb lever hammer gun is potentially outside of the realms of possibility, especially a pair of them. Firstly, exceedingly rare. Secondly, a lot of money for the amount of use that I give them. This is the cheaper end of the scale for a very similar feel. So this little beauty, this Charles Hamshaw of Grove Street, High Street, St Mary's, Oxford, is really nice. I fell in love with the concept of an unusual opening, kind of slower, more... It's still indescribable. It's been a month and I still can't describe what it is to shoot something like this. This one is about as cheap as they come. It's got some issues, obviously, and we'll go into those. But before we do that, have a look over it. You have the hare's ear type hammer. They're non-rebounding locks, meaning you can go half cock and full cock, but you cannot open it. You cannot open it without those hammers going to half cock. It has rather beautiful wood, to be honest. For the era, the wood is stunning. The checkering, everything about it is in fairly good order at the rear end. It's a 14¼ inch stock with a beautiful iron heel plate. It has Damascus barrels that are black powder proof only. They're black powder proof only. That is a little bit of a sadness. A little bit of a sadness. What's worse is those barrels are pitted and dented, and I think they measure 18 thou in the left barrel. The fact it's black powder proof doesn't really put me off. You can get black powder cartridges from a few companies out there still. The condition of the barrels doesn't upset me massively. I can guarantee you I have shot bigger loads through worse. Professionally speaking, one should have them fixed. or at least looked at and measured professionally, honed out to remove any of the weak points if they take it. But 18th thou they probably won't. Let's be honest, 18th thou is not much. I love the serpentine carving on the fences. In fact, I love most things about this gun. I love most of all that it's £200 to £300. And for the fact that I probably use it once a year, let's be honest, it's very reasonable money. And you get all the same joy as we did that day with the bosses, or at least a damn good chunk of that same joy, which is important. So like I said, I need somebody to bid on this gun and bid higher than I have, because I don't need it. I just desperately want it. And somebody else will get way more joy out of it than I will. It's not that I won't enjoy it, but I feel like I might be let down. And I don't want to be let down by it. You're not going to be let down. Are you going to be let down? I don't know. I need to digest this gun. We might revisit it at the end, but for the most part, it's £200 to £300. I've wasted money on worse. A lot of you will have heard me banging on at various times about the value of box locks in England. And this is a good example. This is a CS Rozens of Norwich. It is a box lock with an unusual opening mechanism, which is quite cool. It's a slide action, so this little catch on top here, instead of a top lever to push or an under lever to push down or a rotating lever, it is a little bit like a lifter latch. You push it forward, the gun opens. It is inherently, actually, you might want to wear gloves while doing that, actually. But the concept is sound, and for the sort of use you'll put this gun through, not too bad. It's a treble grip ejector box lock. Meaning treble grip, meaning you have, for those of you who do not know, how dare you not know, for those of you who do not know, a treble grip means you have grip 1, grip 2, and grip 3. A sliding bar that, unless I'm missing something fundamental, I think there is no reinforcing point in there. I think this is actually just an interesting opening mechanism. So you have your opening slider and little safety catch right behind it there. I am a fan of this gun. It's got a beautifully engraved name on, and I've seen this on a few of the Rozens, CS Rozens & Co Norwich. It's much nicer than a lot of the things you'll see, I think, just in terms of branding. Maybe, is that weird that I care? Probably not. 27-inch nitro-proof barrels. The barrels have a little bit of pitting in, apparently. It's minor up the left tube there, and it's down to 19th thou wall thickness, so you're not going to be putting any HP steel through this. Although, to be honest, you're not going to be putting a lot through it anyway. This is a really nice gun. It's a perfectly serviceable English-built box lock. Where it gets interesting is that this lot 5774 is valued about £250 in the sealed bid sale. £250. That's 1,000 cartridges. Clay cartridges. I think that's quite impressive personally, value-wise. There is a whole room full of this sort of thing out there. Quality box lock ejectors and non-ejectors. Variously sleeved or not sleeved with different barrels and thicknesses. The world is your oyster entirely. However, for £250, what a beautiful, beautiful piece of history. The stock does have 6 megatons of cast, but you know, what a joy this little gun would bring. Just so you could just go, I'm opening my gun with a pushy button. You know, it's probably a little bit like the lifter latch that in practical use, aka more than one opening per hour, you're gonna get frustrated with it. But it doesn't matter. I don't think so anyway. Just one of the many beautiful things in the Holts seal bid, and I could have showed you 10 really good quality bargain box locks, but I didn't. For me, more than anything on this gun, all right, the line of a non-top levered gun is delicious, but look at the line of the headwork. For me, this is that just little bit of extra on here. There's something about these lines up the side that are just a little bit nice. Just a little bit nice, I think. Either way, if you do not own a box lock English gun, you probably should. It is very reasonably priced and will bring you great joy. And there's not much that is reasonably priced and brings you great joy. That's a lie. There's a lot of things that are reasonably priced and bring you great joy. Just can't think of any right now. This is a Watson Brothers, a maker who is still in existence, 5341 lot number. It's valued at £700 to £900. £700 to £900 is, to me, pretty wild. It is a 20-bore hammer gun and it is stunning. Just the lines, the shape and the scale of it are beautiful. It's a top lever rebounding lock made for 1890 gun. It has nitro reproved barrels which are down to 18 thou in one barrel. For those who don't know, and I've said this a lot about all the guns today with thick and thinner barrels, realistically you're looking for 25 plus. That's like the sweet spot. The thicker the barrels, the heavier they are, the lighter the barrels, the thinner they are, or vice versa. So you'll find some guns that are actually made less than 18 thou from the factory, but they were designed to be super fast and super nimble. The Holland 12-2s, for example, that sort of thing. This could well have been 18 thou from the factory. It was nitro reproved and it is in proof. However, in the modern world with heavy cartridges and bigger loads, you just need to be careful. If you're going to buy a gun and wallop massive stuff through it, it's probably wise to buy one with thicker barrels. If you are going to be cautious and careful with what you put in your gun, like this little 20 bore, for example, buy it and put a few bismuth through it every year. Oh, what a delight that would be. That would be great. This gun is not in original condition, and that is, to be honest, one of the downsides. Although, is it? There's a lot of people watching, and myself, probably I'm on the line whether I really care about original condition or not. It's tastefully done, the pad is nice, the stock finish is nice, the checkering is crisp, and it gives you a feeling of a minter without the price of a minter. Refurbing a gun does take away some of its value, and as such this gun is £700 to £900 for a rebounding hammer top lever 20 bore. The stock is 14 1/4 inches, so it's not long, but it's very manageable. You might consider lengthening it if you're longer, but to be honest, you could just get over and go and shoot it. What a joy this little thing is. I like it anyway. I mean, I do get accused of gushing in these videos too. How can you not gush when you're presented with something like that? A quality 20 bore hammer gun that is affordable and beautiful. I could say any of these are a gun of the sale. There's a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, we're going to go downhill from here. Yeah, let's take a step downhill. Or is it a step downhill? This will divide opinion. This is a Skiptus MT8-S. Let's have a look. -O. I am a fan of the old Skiptus, the Russian Purdy, if you will. They are not just a Bakel, as some would have you believe. They are, in fact, quite nice. They are built to a significantly better standard of Bakel. They are sort of the Russian best gun. Obviously, they come in various grades. We've looked at a few over the years, and every time I get the opportunity to look at a new one, given that they are quite rare, I'll slow down, given that they are quite rare, is nice. They're certainly rare in this country. They're certainly undervalued in this country as well. Skiptus is short for the Central Design and Research Bureau of Sporting and Hunting Arms. And this particular Skiptus is valued at £400 to £600. It hasn't had an inlet comb, which is actually endears me to it because it comes up quite nicely. You have a beautifully machined rib, and say what you want about this gun, this top rib is really nice. The lines down the middle, the actual tram lines, are quite deeply inset, and that gives you this real kind of positive sight picture. There is an issue with it, however, and that is that the top rib is loose. That is kind of sad. They're pinned through the head as standard, so that's a factory reinforcement as opposed to an aftermarket fix. It's nice. The scroll back action is nice. Interestingly, the more that I look at bolstered action guns, meaning you have this raised top part around here, the more I actually quite like them. I know that probably sounds bizarre, it feels bizarre saying it, but there is something about it that is growing on me massively. I am slowly, by exposure, falling in love with designs that aren't conventional. I would love to know how to take this apart. One presumes it's different to the other Skiptus that I have seen because it's a very different design to the other Skiptus that I have seen. Either way, just to prove that the Russians can build a good looking gun, or at least a better looking gun than a Bakel, I've chucked it in. We really are diving into the depths with this one. This one is a particular favourite to the child in me. This is a Jackal by Air Arms. This is a gun that most Americans will go, "You English suck." And I am probably with you, to be honest. It is an air gun that is designed to look like an M16. 3601. And the description says, a 2.2 side lever cocking air rifle signed Sussex Armoury Jackal, model 2000. Serial number 1329, 19-inch barrel, open sights, top breech loading tap, dovetail receiver for fitment of telescopic sight, black ABS, plastic stock, not tested. I believe it's an Air Arms underneath. I mean, Air Arms made a very similar one, the Sussex Armoury Jackal. One presumes Sussex Armoury and Air Arms had something together. I haven't had time to adequately research that, and I don't care. I'm just going off my own hearsay. But I remember as a younger man seeing these and automatically thinking, what heathen wants those? I like classic guns made of wood and blued metal. But let's be honest. Inside every man is a tiny little boy who wants to play, and who doesn't want to play with one of these? And a friend of mine got one. I had a Webley Eclipse at the time, and a friend got given one of these by his dad or uncle or some such. It doesn't really matter. It was awesome. It was such fun. The fun that we had playing with one of these in the garden, shooting tin cans and yelling out lines from our favourite action movies. I mean, they weren't great action movies, and they're only snippets because we probably weren't allowed to watch them at that age. Some sort of pirated VHS. The good old days. I love this gun for what it represents to me. I love this gun for the fun that you could have with it. That is what guns are for a lot of the time. Enjoyment. The number of us who actually have them as tools is pretty minimal. And I think, I can't remember what it was valued at. Nothing. Pennies. For fun. I mean, I love the little push button. That is actually, I'm not going to test it on camera. I'm going to test it off camera and keep it a secret whether it works or not. Although, to be honest, you can still get parts for these, I believe, and it's nothing you couldn't make up and have a play with at home. Look at that rear sight. How can this not bring you joy? Like, ooh, the front sight's a bit wonk. There you go. Let's straighten that up. Oh, no, over straightened it. Pat, pat. All right, there you go. Just lost 1,000 American fans. So if that segment doesn't trigger somebody to say, you guys need a Second Amendment, well, I'll have failed in my job completely. What's next is going to divide opinion a little bit. This is in here for two reasons. This is a Fratelli Gamba. And the first reason it's in here is because somebody's gold-plated the furniture. And that tickled me a lot. It is lot 5215. So here's a shocker for you, is that the gold on this gun has actually potentially been done from the factory. This gun is called a Gamba Gold SP. Gambas are one of those makers that really get disregarded nowadays. This gun's nearly 35 years old, and as such, well, doesn't much matter in the modern world if it's not shoved in front of your face every 5 minutes by YouTube channels and magazines. So it's time that we gave it some time. Gamba, which I believe Fratelli Gamba is succeeded by Renato Gamba, don't quote me on that, but they must be family of sorts, made some amazing guns. I remember when I was a nipper in the trade and I got given a pair of them to sell by someone, and I phoned somebody more mature in the trade and said, what are they? And he said, good guns. And here's why. Well, it doesn't take much explaining. They're spec'd well, they shoot well, and they do not break. I mean, the two things we want from a shotgun is good spec, so that it actually is nice to fire, and that they don't break down. Everything else is pretty much to do with the cartridge you put in it and where you put the damn gun. I love the fact that it's got a semi-step-up rib. I love the hand checkering on the rib here. I love the vented, the tramline rib. I love a lot about this gun. I even love the gold bits. But what I love most, and this is where I'm going to make a fool of myself, it's not because I haven't forgotten how to do one of these, is they've got a detachable trigger unit. This gun is in auction for $250 to $350, and it's got a fully jeweled, hand-polished, unbelievable quality trigger unit that drops out at the bottom. I mean, if it said SO on it, you'd chuck another 0 and a bit on the end of there. Oh, the way they go in is so sweet as well. Like, a lot of guns, there are a lot of real fiddly. This has got a little push button below the trigger. You just push it in, and the trigger comes out. And then you put it back in. Oh, ready, da-dink, clunk. This is a good gun. You don't have to spend buckets and buckets of money to get something good. This is up there. The lockup is solid, it feels quality. I know that doesn't count for a lot, but you can tell. I was just chatting to a couple of guys in the gun room, and their words, which are quite good, is you can see so much in pictures, but as a gun lover, you need to have it here. And it's true, you can tell quality, you can just get a feel of its tangible build and passion and the way it's going to shoot very quickly. It's got a palm swell, it's got everything you need in a modern gun for 250 quid. 250 quid. I mean, let's be honest. Strong bids win. I've said this before. Strong bids win, weak bids don't. The amount of bids I've put into the sealed bid, and I've won one thing because I never follow my own advice. I'm going to follow my own advice in this auction. I've put a couple of bids in and they will be strong. Strong bids win, unless you're after something undesirable that no one else wants. But you're probably buying the wrong thing if you win on a low bid. Maybe not. Maybe you're lucking out. Maybe you're ahead of the curve. Either way, I think someone should be bold. It has the silly selectable trigger, but at least you can pop the trigger unit out and fix it in a pinch. That counts for a lot. I love this. The fact it's got a 15.5 inch stock, it's got an inch rear pad, so you can take that off. It's 14.5 inch of wood as standard is a nice touch. The amount of gun makers that don't put enough wood on the end for us normal size humans is depressing. I think that's an absolute peach. Personally, there you go. Something that isn't old and Japanese, something that's old and Italian that I think is good. I mean, there is quite a lot. I'm sure there's something wrong with it. But at 250 to 350 pounds, you can't be too fussy. Not really. If we go down the rabbit hole of pretty unhappy guns, this one is fairly close to the bottom of the hole. This is 5801, a bar in wood by Thomas Turner and Sons. The list of issues is fairly long. The trigger guard is snapped and repaired, the floor plate is snapped and repaired, the stock is snapped. It's a bar in wood, so of course the stock is snapped. But I feel the need to just emphasize how beautiful these hammers are. Everything about this gun just screams pick me up and love me. And I just wish it was minter, or slightly tidier than it is. The fact it's a side lever is obviously delicious. You all know my affinity towards them. The fact it's got the carved percussion style fences is sweet. The engraving is stunning. It's one of those guns that the fact that it's absolutely shagged doesn't faze me in the slightest. It's black powder proofed, it's made for 1970, it's got 30-inch Damascus barrels that are pitted, and the wall thicknesses are below recommended minimum, which is not good. In fact, the advert in the Holts app says pretty poor condition overall. This gun is valued in the book at 80 to 120 pounds. I'd want to be pretty cautious about shooting it. Let's be blunt. Below recommended minimum, it's got a crack stock, it's not in great order. But it's one of those guns that you don't really need to shoot to appreciate. I understand that for the most part, having a collection of guns you don't shoot takes a lot of space, and on the whole is pretty pointless if you take it completely objectively. But the joy of looking at this thing, let alone potentially, if the barrels are okay enough, to go and shoot it every so often with some bright 2-inch shells, you know, basically firing at 12 foot-pounds, I think that would be really, really special, personally. But I am insane by standards, apparently, when it comes to guns. I'm addicted to stuff that shouldn't really matter, and would spend money on things that other people really would just view as junk. I don't need any more scrap in my life. but I might make an exception for this. I love it. Like, this is as close to perfection in a gun design as a ironwood gun could get for me. It's just a shame that it's not in good condition overall, which is what we look for. I just needed to share it with you. You know, if this gun could make its way to a country where you could hang it on a wall, or if you've got a gun room or a glass-fronted cabinet, this is the gun glass-fronted cabinets were made for. I mean, just look at that. Look at that. Oh. Rifles are perhaps something we don't show often enough on this show, so I'm going to show you this one. This is a Mauser 98 100-year anniversary gun, made in 1998, because obviously the Mauser 98 came to be in 1898. I mean, who'd have thunk? It is a pretty much unfired edition in 8mm Mauser. I can't help but really like this. You know, there's something about owning a original battle rifle that swings both ways in my head, both in excitement and in reverence, perhaps. Reverence/excitement, and I can't even think of the word to describe the other half, so I'm going to keep that one to myself. But this one is just clean, it's fresh, it's got no history. It is a usable workhorse with some collectible value. So it's not just a shoddy repro, it is a Mauser. It's great order. The lines are just as good as the original, although inherently it is not a beautiful thing. It is a classic gun. I love. This is valued at £400 to £600. This is my kind of rifle. One you can just use a lot, that gives you the same thrills as an original, but without the onus of responsibility that comes with owning an original rifle from that era. You have to keep it clean. You don't want it to go degrade any further, given that most of them have had nearly 100 years of hard work. Whereas this, I mean, you're not looking to destroy it, but you'd feel slightly less bad about not cleaning it when you got home. I love it. I love the fact it's got the thumb cut out. Any rifle with a thumb cut out to top charge the mag actually makes me happy. I know that that's not a thing that should matter, but it does. And that was that. I just like it. It's a nice thing. And rifles should be nice things that are fun to use, much like shotguns. But shotguns, there's, to me, more funny little variables that turn me on. Maybe. And last but not least, this is for a particular friend of mine. This is his kind of gun. This is an AK-47 in 22LR. This is the sort of gun that you will enjoy owning and have lots of fun with. It's a blinking gun. It says on the offside, use high velocity 22LR only, which to me, if you read between the lines, means I will not cycle anything. But it matters not, because the joy isn't in reliability, it is in owning a AK in the UK. For any of you outside the UK, we are allowed to own 2.2 rimfire semi-automatics. We cannot own centerfire semi-automatics unless it's a shotgun, of course. And as such, this is as close as we can get to the real thing, potentially. We can own straight pulls and other things, but that matters not. Is this conventionally what I'm attracted to? No. But a little bit like the air gun I showed you earlier, there is something inside all of us that you are allowed to enjoy the process of firing a gun and having fun with it. And we get bullied out of it by various means, saying, no, guns are tools and blah, blah, blah. But they don't have to be. They can just be enjoyable. And the mags are stepped up to make them look like their normal size when you put them in, and you can go out and have fun on the range. Fun. That's been a recurring theme of this film, and I do apologise for banging on about the same things. It's something I'm guilty of regularly, is not letting a point drop. What fun this is, an AK-47-22 Cal 22LR, manufactured by Arms Corporation, Philippines. This gun is lot 4247, and if I look in my handy book, 4247, Arms Corp, 22LR, 50 to 70 pounds, come with 2 magazines, overall length 37.58 inches, comes with an unbranded scope. Whoa. You know, I know a lot of serious stalkers, proper professionals who have very professional kit who actually enjoy this sort of stuff. You know, we can all pretend to be super grown up, but you don't have to be all the time. There is joy in acting like a very safe and responsible child. There you go. And that actually, sadly, is my last gun of the auction, ladies and gentlemen. There are 3 and a bit thousand others out there. But to be honest, I kind of preferred this format. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Just a bit slower, a little bit more in detail about what we're looking at, as opposed to the higgledy-piggledy rush round, sort of look at things for 5 seconds. It was always good to show you guys what was out there, and there is a lot out there. But I'd love to know your thoughts on this format. Hopefully you enjoyed just looking at some of the guns they have on offer here at the Holts Seal Bid. And don't forget, register, bid. There are loads of things that aren't guns, books, accessories, stuff. Go and check them out too, because to be honest, there aren't many places in the world you can buy vintage checkering tools, for example, but you can here. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Take care, goodbye, and we'll see you next time.